Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So we have a story about an all-female prison in Massachusetts. As we know, federally, men in women's prisons was banned via executive order. However, when it comes to state law, various states are able to make their own laws regarding that. And Massachusetts is no exception. Since 2018, they have allowed men into the women's prisons there, simply due to gender identity. Simply because a man claims that he feels like a woman, or the man declares that he wants to start pretending to be a woman. And clearly this is a safeguarding issue. There is no safeguarding when it comes to the female prisoners. Not only are they put in prison with men, they are put in prison with male predators, men who have been convicted of SA against women and children. So what on earth do they think is going to happen? Simply when a guy has a trans identity, he's allowed to use that as a shield. We forget all of his crimes and bend over backwards to accommodate him, and his word is valued so much that they're willing to endanger women. So this is the MCI-Framingham in Massachusetts, the state's all-female prison. There are at least 4 male inmates in there who supposedly identify as transgender, and female inmates are coming forward saying they're being attacked by these men. One woman who claims that she was SA'd, RAPE'd, by one male inmate was punished. She was put in what sounds like solitary confinement in an isolated cell as a result of informing the prison guards, the prison officers, that she was SA'd by this male inmate. They didn't take the male inmate away and put him in solitary confinement. They took the female inmate away and punished her. And women are coming forward and saying that they are being punished when they speak up. This is unbelievable. So The Hill did an exclusive piece on this story, and various female inmates were interviewed. Female inmates there whom I have interviewed extensively as part of my research on the impact of gender ideology in custodial settings describe the facility as a haven for sexual predators who pretend to be transgender. They all requested anonymity, fearing retaliation, both from the prison administration and the trans-identified inmates, many of whom they describe as both volatile and threatening. As a mental health professional with expertise in sexual trauma, I am acutely aware that nearly all incarcerated women are survivors of male violence. The presence of men in their housing units is therefore destabilizing and arguably amounts to cruel and unusual punishment. Absolutely it does. And these are men who have been convicted of the most heinous crimes, in particular against women and children. Yet they're moved to a women's prison because they say they identify as a woman. And these all-female prisons are typically with less security. So these male inmates are being rewarded for their crimes. They're getting moved to a prison environment that's more relaxed when it comes to the security levels and the security measures. They get more freedom in an all-female prison, but most disturbingly, they get access to women. Kenneth Hunt is one trans-identified male held at Framingham. He now goes by Kafina. He was convicted of SA and murdering 2 women, one of them his own cousin. The details of the crime are too graphic to go into, and people like him get moved to a less secure prison and is allowed to be surrounded by women, because his word is so valid that all he has to do is say he's a woman and he gets moved to the women's prison. Charlize Horton, previously convicted of kidnapping and assaulting a child, was arrested in 2019 on multiple charges, including repeatedly abducting and SAing a 14-year-old at gunpoint. He declared that he was transgender in 2025. Of course, it's while their trial's going on as well. They know they're about to be locked up for a very long time, so they try their luck and say, well, I identify as a woman, and they get to move to a women's prison and enjoy more freedoms and avoid all those men in the prison. They can avoid the men because we know that male prisons are very rough, but the women, they're forced to be with men while in prison, while locked up. they're forced to share living quarters with men. And don't get me started on these idiots who say, oh, it's not safe for them because they identify as trans. It's not safe for them to be in the men's prison, while advocating for them to be locked up with women, with real women, even though they are proven predators. They've been convicted of crimes against women, but now women have to endure being locked up with these men. And you talk about safety. This is the illogical reasoning behind these policies. They are reckless, they are dangerous. One female inmate said, you know, people talk about what if the worst happens. She said, the worst has already happened. It's happening right under our noses. So basically, all of the inmates are in there for crimes against women and children, all of them. They're all predators, victims as young as 6 years old. So we have one guy, Wayne. He lives among the women at MCI-Framingham despite being denied parole 6 times for failing to demonstrate a level of rehabilitation, making him compatible with the welfare of society. So this guy's not fit to be out among us, but they lock this guy up with women who are more vulnerable, with women who have been victims of predators in the past, re-traumatizing them and then punishing them when they speak up. This is sick. It's not even arguable that it's cruel and unusual punishment. It's as clear as day that that's exactly what is going on. This is going against their constitutional rights, their human rights. These women are human beings. Yes, they've committed crimes, usually crimes that aren't as serious as the ones committed over in the men's prison, and usually as a result of being abused by men themselves, getting caught up in trafficking. That's usually something that a man has drawn them into, getting caught up in drugs. Usually when it comes to trafficking, they use drugs to control these women. So the women get addicted to drugs and may do things to feed their habit. And now they're being locked up with men.
We house every custody level. So we have what would be considered low-level offenders who are there on DWI charges, theft charges, drug possession. And then you bring in biological males who are violent, who would be housed at a custody level 4 facility. And I just believe we're re-victimizing some of these women, re-traumatizing them. You know, they are incarcerated. However, they all have a past, and a lot of their past includes physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. And so I think allowing men to live amongst these women is traumatizing. And it's also unsafe for staff. I don't believe we've been properly trained.
Men may be placed in women's facilities without even a diagnosis of gender dysphoria. Of course not. This is a feature, not a failure of enforcement. Under the Commonwealth's self-identification framework promoted by transgender activists, one becomes a woman by simply claiming to be one. So when a man says he feels like a woman, he is a woman. His word is taken seriously, that they're willing to change policy, turn everything upside down to accommodate him. But when a woman says, I am in fear for my safety, this isn't right, I don't want to share living quarters with a man, she is ignored. And when she comes forward and says that something has happened to her, her words are shunned and she is punished. Complete disparity there when it comes to the response that's given to male predators compared to women who simply speak up and tell the truth. First of all, these men are in there based on a lie. They are not women. And these men are allowed to be in the women's prison, regardless of how it affects the female inmates. If you've punished a female inmate by locking her up in isolation because she dared to speak up, but didn't lock the man up, didn't lock up the male predator, you need to be fired. Everybody that's allowed this to happen needs to be fired. I don't care what the state law says. The state law doesn't mean that you ignore RAPE. They have a duty to take these claims seriously, to investigate them, and to protect these women, and to make sure that these men are held accountable. In fact, the moment any hint of that even occurs, they should be moved back to the men's prison. Clearly, they are a danger to these female inmates, but that doesn't seem to matter. At MCI-Framingham, male inmates learn to frame their demands as discrimination claims guided by a well-resourced network of legal advocates. Yeah, these guys are backed by lawyers, they're backed by TRAs, non-profit organizations. Sensitive to litigation risk, prison administrators comply, even extending preferential treatment. For example, starting in July, the male inmates at Framingham were granted exclusive shower periods, during which female inmates are locked in their cells. Women, in contrast, are still required to share communal showers with those same men who choose instead to shower during general population hours. Female staff endure similar violations, compelled by law to conduct strip searches of trans-identified male inmates who request officers of the same gender identity. Apparently, even when their conduct warrants them being moved back to the men's prison, it's hard to do so. Regardless of their subsequent conduct, to date, no behaviour, however disruptive or violent, has resulted in any male prisoner's removal. I have no words. There's nothing they can do to be moved back to the men's. They've proven themselves to be a danger to female inmates, but the female inmates have to deal with it. And they have no help. They get no support from the officials within the prison. They get no support. What are these women supposed to do? So in the confines of a prison, male predators are allowed to do whatever they want. And these women are told that they don't deserve to be protected, that they dare not speak up. So the female inmates describe being harassed and abused by these men, but fear institutional reprisal if they report it. Most women I interviewed said prison officials routinely minimize SA allegations against trans-identified inmates, while female accusers are dismissed, discredited, or punished. Some alleged victims gave me detailed written statements supporting their accounts. The woman confined to a locked cell is permitted to leave only once per day to shower. It feels like I'm being punished for speaking up. They are treating me as if I should have kept my mouth shut, as if it's my fault, or as though I should have defended myself. And let me tell you something. Innocent people who have committed no crimes get convicted of crimes, wrongfully convicted. And you can very well find yourself sharing prison quarters with men. People make mistakes and may find themselves locked up, even if they're locked up while awaiting trial. And of course, the Massachusetts Department of Corrections has not responded to requests for comment. Absolute cowards. We know about the women's prison in Shakopee, Minnesota. The states that allow this: Illinois, California, New York, Washington, New Jersey. Across the country, male inmates are being housed with women based on self-declared gender identity, and more than 51% of these men are serving sentences for crimes against women and children of a sexual nature. And this is happening in these blue states that are refusing to follow federal law. And bills that have been put in place to protect women have been rejected by Democrats, such as Senator Shannon Grove, who introduced a bill to make her state's women's prisons establish separate units for trans-identified male inmates, limited to sleeping quarters, and other meals, recreation, work, and other general programming would have continued alongside the female population. So it's just the intimate settings, but it was rejected and said to be discriminatory. And the bill was tweaked so that it only applied to S offenders, and even that was rejected. But they don't care about the discrimination against women, against female inmates though, do they? They don't care about the danger that these female inmates are put in. Clearly, those responsible for this experiment in violating women's 8th Amendment rights do not intend to reverse course. And when they're hearing these horrific stories, the worst has happened multiple times. They do not care. We have men who have killed their wives now getting to go to a women's prison because they identify as a woman. Like, ridiculous. And you mean to tell me that this isn't going to be something that attracts more predators? They know they can just identify themselves into a less secure women's facility and enjoy more freedoms and avoid, dropping the soap and those situations. Well, the women don't get that option. They're told they have to deal with it. If you have any suggestions, I don't know if it's a petition, if it's protesting, what? But we can't just sit back and allow this to happen. These female inmates, they don't deserve this. They don't. Yes, they've committed crimes, but they don't deserve this. They don't deserve to be put in cells, in living quarters, with male predators who have every incentive to target these women because they know they're not going to face any repercussions. They're not even going to get moved back to the men's prison. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. Take care of yourselves and God willing, I will see you in the next video.